Hello all and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe and stick around. I am still not completely sure of what I'm doing, but I have a good feeling about it, and it'll be even better if you're there for the ride. When I started writing the script yesterday, I had 33 followers, and today I have 43 followers, so yay growth. And yeah, my goal is 1,000 within the first month or two of this series if I am to continue it long term. Anything after 1,000 is when I can finally start being eligible for different ways of being monetized on YouTube. But in the meantime, if you want to see this series continue, please subscribe to my Patreon. The link will be in my description. I was really unsure about this the first couple days, or well, actually the first couple weeks, but I'm starting to get positive feedback from people I don't know and from people in other countries, and I feel like, okay, maybe I'm not insane. Maybe this could be a thing. And I feel like my soul is vibrating. Like, I really did not expect to have the self-discipline to stick it out for this long. My TV just randomly went on. Creepy. The remote is not even anywhere near anything, bro. And nothing is touching the power button. Anyway, so as I was saying, I was not expecting to have the willpower to stick it out. A video every day is kind of a tall order between the amount of time it takes to research and edit especially, and I am surprised to admit that I'm actually still really enjoying this. It's getting more enjoyable the more I reach people and the more positive feedback I get, because initially I was like afraid that maybe I was just delusional for thinking this was a good idea, and I figured it's gonna get rejected by everyone and then I'm gonna feel super dumb for putting myself out like this. But I am so enthralled by the research, and I really love the way that I can apply my creativity to the editing process for these videos, and I feel kind of like, how can I put this? It's just very cathartic spiritually to be sharing the stories of these victims to see that they don't get forgotten. I don't know. There's just a lot of positive things coming out of this for me that I was not expecting, and I find that it's kind of grounding to be making these videos every day. So thank you for viewing. Anyway, hi, my name is Ashley Robin, and if you're seeing this on a different platform besides YouTube, this is your call to action. Head on over to YouTube, type in @AshleyRobinCreations, and check out my channel. I started a true crime series called True Crime Time Hop, where I post daily videos looking at true crime events that have something to do with that date in history, and it's morbid, but it's a good time in its own way. I'm just your typical atypical that creates beautiful things by day and then discuss morbid and dark things with you guys by night. I've been doing a lot of experimenting with audio and visual stuff. If you guys could please give me some feedback as you see me making changes and trying different things in the comments, because oftentimes every video is slightly varied from the last, and I don't know if I'm going to keep changing it up or if I'm just looking for the right thing, but I do like to have a variety. Please note that I am not here to glorify the infamous, but rather to continue holding those who did wrong accountable publicly, and also to educate people. A lot of these cases didn't get any publicity or nearly as much as they deserved, and I want to amplify the voices of those who have lost their lives. I cover an array of topics under the true crime umbrella. I scroll on Google until I see something interesting that hasn't been covered much by other true crime podcasts and blogs, and I go for the cases that have died with the time or those that were never properly acknowledged to begin with in the media. If I can get this concept off the ground enough to continue past episode 30, I may also turn it into a podcast and even possibly a daily blog. Each video is like 2 to 4 typed up pages that I do have typed up, so it would not be hard to package it in different ways and make it available on different platforms, but The 1,000 subscribers thing needs to happen first because I'm trying to prove to myself that this is viable before I commit any further to it. And I'm sorry for the change in acoustics. I started out recording in my living room and now I am recording in my car because my furnace was being really loud, my rabbit was being really loud, and now there's a train in the background because I can't really find any place where it's actually quiet. I hope that eventually this really pops off so that I can actually just rent a studio space because this is very annoying. Anyway, it's time to get down to brass tacks here. The case I chose today is one that got very little publicity, especially among white people. This is because the crime happened when people were still living in a racially segregated world, and our victim was a black man who was trying to look out for another black victim of murder. People need to know the underbelly of this country's history. The African American perspective of the civil rights movement has not been shared nearly enough. Warning: the following content may be disturbing to some audiences. If you could be triggered by talk of segregation, white supremacy, injustice, and brutality, please exit this video now and prioritize your mental health. If you could be triggered by exploring black history and honoring the seldom spoken names of those who lost their lives because of the color of their skin, unsubscribe. Because here, Black Lives Matter, and they always have. And no, I'm not saying all lives don't matter, but black lives are the ones that have been sacrificed with the least regard systemically in our country for generations, which is why the BLM movement exists. Viewer discretion is advised. This is True Crime Time Hop, Episode 18. Lewis Allen was born on April 25th of 1919 in Mississippi. He grew up in the times where this country was still one that believed you should have the right to own human beings, especially in the Deep South. And even at its best in his childhood, he saw segregation and oppression on a daily basis. He was there for the brutal murder of Emmett Till in 1955 and the initiation of the Civil Rights Movement. At the age of 23, he enlisted to serve in the U.S. Army as a proud free black American. After he was finished serving his country in World War II, Allen returned to Mississippi. At that time, he and his wife settled down to have 4 children. He worked as a logger and a laborer, eventually creating his own logging business. He was one of the very few black men in the area that owned land and ran a business. That really ruffled the feathers of the white folk he was surrounded by. These were the kind of people that were shamelessly and actively against desegregation. The South opposed giving African Americans the right to vote longer than any other population in this country. It's crazy to me that a black man could serve his country, but would not be eligible to vote. Many of those with dark skin left the area due to the influence of the local KKK chapter. Allen stayed and stood proud. He wore a hat every day to convey class, and he minded his own business, grateful to find success as the exception to the rule. On September 25th, 1961, as he was out walking on a dirt road past a barn, he found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time. Within the barn at Westbrook Cotton Gin, visible from his point of view with an open door, Allen saw something that would drastically change the trajectory of his life. Member of the NAACP as well as the SNCC, which stands for Students Against Nonviolence Coordinating Committee, Herbert Lee was embroiled in an argument. Controversially, at the heart of this argument was a member of the state legislature, E.H. Hurst, who was confronting Lee on his involvement with the SNCC. The disagreement quickly escalated, and before Allen's eyes, along with other witnesses, E.H. Hurst shot Lee in the head. Most of the witnesses were white, and the day after the murder, they all attested to Lee having threatened Hurst with a tire iron to vilify the victim. Allen and a black reverend, which were the only 2 black witnesses there, corroborated the claim at first, later citing that they were afraid because they were in a room surrounded by armed white men. Allen later reached out to friends to discuss the false statements, and after much consideration, Allen decided to confess his lie to the Department of Justice. The truth was that Lee asked Hurst to put the gun down, and Hurst shot him without provocation. When local authorities caught wind that he had done this, he recanted and made plans to pack up his family and leave Mississippi to protect them. But on this day, January 31st of 1964, Allen was found deceased by his son just outside of his property. The sheriff dismissed the entire investigation early on. He assured the public that there was no crime committed because since Allen wasn't registered to vote, it couldn't have been over voting rights. They were holding voting rights just out of people's reach, and then when they were able to register, they were making it impossible and scaring the hell out of them if they ventured to try to anyway. And then they were claiming that crimes against non-voters weren't worthy of an investigation because they were viewed almost as non-citizens without having registered to vote. And I don't know how to say this word. It's A-M-I-T-E. I don't know if it's Amity or Amite, but it's that word county that they were in, which was like a big hotspot for Ku Klux Klan demonstrations and cross burning and lynching and hate crimes all over the place. No one was ever formally charged for the murder. Hell, they didn't even actually investigate it until 1994, but there is speculation that it was the town sheriff, Daniel Bryant Jones, who had harassed and wrongfully jailed Allen several times leading up to that. Sheriff Jones was a known member of the KKK at the time. I strongly advise you to do some of your own research a little bit more in depth into Lewis Allen and his murder and the case afterward. If you want a deep dive, let me know in the comments, but I haven't started doing those yet. Right now, just keeping up and doing this 30 episodes in 30 days thing seems to be challenging enough for me. I'm trying to really perfect it here so that it's actually worth your time and mine. And while you're doing your homework on Lewis Allen, I also suggest doing a little bit of reading up on Emmett Till. I will definitely be covering his case in August if I make it that long with this series. So, yeah. Thank you very much for visiting my channel, enjoying another episode with me, and you have a great rest of your day.